Welcome to DIY DEI. On today's episode, we will be talking about the power of mentorship. I'm your host, Tawanna Streater, and I have a very special guest in the studio with me today. My friend, my mentor, Darrious Hilmon, the Executive Director of CAN TV. Welcome, Darrious.
It's good to be here. Before we start, let me not take over your show. I am so proud of what you're doing here. You and the team, I watch your show religiously. These conversations, I mean, it's such a privilege to be doing this work, but to have folks who you're just meeting, but you're already in the arena with, folks you've known for a while, and then folks like you that we've spent a decade plus together, but to watch you having these conversations, and I'm watching them and just going, oh, this is so good. Oh, I didn't think about that. You know, you're never too anything to learn more.
Yes.
And watching you do this, knowing you, the way I know you, it is just icing on the cake. But these have been some fabulous conversations you're having. Yes, yes.
Just great. And the conversations have been getting deeper. We've talked about workforce development.
Well, you started fairly deep.
Talent development, developing that talent pipeline, authenticity.
Yeah. The conversation with Corliss.
Yes.
Oh,
Showing
my
up
gosh.
as your authentic self. And out of every conversation, mentorship comes up over and over and over again. And I said, who better to have this conversation with than Darrious, who you really helped me throughout my career. You were more than just a boss. I think immediately you were that guy, that mentor that I needed, especially coming from the organization I came from and the experience that I had. I think it was the second interview where, first of all, let me give context.
Here we go. Come on. Let's get it done.
I showed up to my second interview with the executive director.
CEO.
The CEO, of Youth Guidance. And I was in my phase, I'm natural, but... You know, my mom always said, you pull that hair into a ponytail, you look nice.
You pull it back.
Sleek, clean, put together. But I had this little piece of hair that just wanted to just hang on.
That hair wanted freedom. I still remember that baby. I was like, just let it be free.
So it was that piece of hair that just set the tone for me just being flustered.
Yeah.
And I think it was one question where I was just stuck. And you actually helped me answer the question. But I was like, Lord, if I get this job,
miracles.
So
Never see. I'll tell you what happened. That was, I already knew before you came back to meet with the CEO that I wanted you on my team. And one of the things, and here is what good leaders have done for me and that I am very intentional about doing for others. Talent doesn't look the same. And especially if we're talking about creating diverse spaces, you're looking at talent through different lenses. Everybody doesn't come from Harvard, do 3 years of this, 15 internships.
Right.
I couldn't afford to be having an internship in college. So you're not going to see one on my resume. But I remember when you walked in, you had your work. My algebra teacher would always say, you get the right answers, but show me your work. And remember you walked in with those documents, and I went, oh, she gets me. And then to make it better, you went, let me explain them. And I went, oh, she knows how to track. She understands it, the art and science. And I asked you a question that changed everything. I said, what do you want in 5 years? And through all of your nervousness, you looked at me and you went, your job. And I remember going, okay. Well, let's get ready. Let's get started. So by the time you came back to meet with the CEO, your talent shone through. Your nerves, those are not the same as talent. And that's the other thing that folks, some of us interview better, some of us take tests better, but your talent. So leading is a learning lesson for all of us leading others to look at it through a lens that is more open, more you don't expect. Because I've seen perfect people interview perfectly.
Same.
So let me just start there. But this journey with you, and I'm going to jump in. We did our time together at Youth Guidance, since we're naming names. I met with one, Andy Zopp at Urban League, who I had heard about from the time I moved to Chicago 13 years ago. And she set me down. An hour and a half conversation later, she said to me, "Have I scared you?" And I went, "My God, yes. But I think I want to do this." Because we were doing BAM at Youth Guidance. It was amazing.
Right.
You were leading stuff
Right.
and your relationships. And this is why I knew you would do well in this show. Your relationship and your likability and talent, I told you that from the beginning. It has always shown through. I always said to you, you're more likable than me. I'm likable enough, but you're genuinely and people. So when you partner with some of our major partners like the Bears and the White Sox and bringing partnerships together, that did some amazing things and set that organization on a really fantastic trajectory. That was because of your ability to meet people in the middle, to be likable, to listen. That's a skill set. You know, everybody doesn't have that. There are people who are very good at what they do, and then there are people who have this intuitive ability to connect with others. And we are nothing if not a relationship business.
Yeah.
So long story short, remember when I told you were the only person. I said, I'm considering this job working with Andy and this incredible team at the Urban League. And part of the reason why I wanted to make the move, because I wanted to work with an organization, take these skill sets that had been honed at larger nonprofits and take it to the same organization that the Detroit chapter gave my father a job years ago. Yeah. And there was something about it felt like coming home. And I told you, and you're like, "But I'm not done with you yet."
You're not leaving.
And that's what you. Or
and
no,
I'm
you said
telling you.
one of us, okay, and you, and I had a conversation with Andy, and we were doing a turnaround there. She was very clear, and I love that about her. She was very clear about how I can help with the work she had done. She had turned the organization around, and the development area was the last kind of final frontier. And I said, I would love to do this, but I think I need to bring my lieutenant. And Andy went, "Tell me about her." And I told her. I may have even told her about the hair. And Andy said, "Perfect. She sounds like a right person." And you and I walked in that place on the same day together. So I met you, hired you at Youth Guidance because of your talent, because of your teachability. Feels a bit insulting. Your game, you came in very clear about, I want more than has been offered to me previously. What do I need to have those things? So being ready for a mentor relationship, because a lot of us think we want one, but we want the shiny bright. We want the outcome. But you walked in from that first interview saying, "I know there is more. I'm ready. I want to connect with the folks. Tell me what to do. It'll hurt." There were times there. We may get into that where you had some tears, but I still talk about that time. It's a long story, everybody, but people talk about it to this day. It's like an urban myth. I had the conversation with Tawanna. Tawanna walked away. It was about turning up the volume, turning it up. You went into the bathroom at Youth Guidance. I didn't know what had happened. You walked back out. And you went, "Let's begin." What I did not know, until maybe months or even a year or two later, is that you went into that bathroom and you cried your eyes out.
I did.
But two things you did there. You were like, "I will be darned if these people see me cry." You went in there and had the moment. We have the moments. It's not perfect where we take them, how we take them. But when you walked out of that, do what you need to do in that bathroom. You had privacy. You did what you needed to do. But when you walked out of that bathroom, you were different ever since. Like something in that bathroom, you went, "Okay, this feels like an inflection point." And you walked out, and you were never the same.
I walked in there. I don't even remember what it was. And it was within the first couple of weeks. But I walked in that bathroom. I let it go. And when I was done, I said, "That's it. That's it. Now we're going to get on this horse, and we're going to get to the finish line.
We're going to get back on this horse because we have fallen off a few times. We're like, we're going to climb back up on it.
And we're going to get to the finish line. It will be okay." And I saw a path forward. I needed to get organized. I needed to get ahead. And I think for about a week straight, I stayed late.
Yes, you did.
I cleaned up my files.
Yes, you did.
I started getting familiar with my portfolio. And I did the work that I needed to do.
You stopped taking your talent for granted.
Yeah. But I came from an organization where I didn't have any guidance, any mentorship, any development. And I knew I was there for 5 years, and I knew probably within 2 years in that I was missing that. And to stay an extra 3 years.
You couldn't imagine.
And let's be honest, I didn't leave voluntarily.
Yeah.
So let me just tell you, that was my first failure.
Yeah.
And it happens. But it was necessary.
Yeah.
It was a necessary departure, whether it was voluntary or not, because it allowed me to take the time to get my mind right.
Yeah.
Because I was dealing with depression. I was dealing with self-doubt.
Yeah.
And I think I took 3 months off, and I said, I'm going to take 3 months off, and then I'm going to apply, and I applied to 5
But
places.
mark that moment, because it feels counterintuitive, but sometimes, and I say this to folks, trust your guts. Most of my early years, people say, how did you do it? You graduated high school a year early, you went to U of M, and I went sloppy will. And I didn't know what it was, but I knew something was better than what I had.
Yep.
I made a lot of mistakes, but I just went, I'm just going to something until I know what it is. I know it's not this. So mark those 3 months and give yourself credit, because that was very early in what is now a fantastic career that you went, I got to stop. So it wasn't, you will do it differently now, some 13 years later, but mark that moment that you trusted your instinct. That will always get us through. We will refine it, but you did a lot of this before we got together.
Yeah, those documents that I brought to that first interview, I created those.
They were beautiful documents. Oh, I love them so.
I created them just because I knew I needed some tool to help keep track of my work. And when I saw that I needed to bring those documents to the interview, I was like, oh, I got that.
Because you were ready. You didn't have to get ready.
The documents he would use,
but we use our work was, again, I believe in divine order as well. You and I have worked together for years now. Our documents were strangely similar.
Yes.
Your interview documents, like I had a visceral reaction because I went, and then before I let myself get too happy, I say, explain this, because people have brought in beautiful documents created by others, and you went and then you do that, and that's when you stopped being nervous. Not when she's going to be fine. When you were talking about what you knew, the nerves went away, and that little wild hair, she calmed down. I was like, okay, she's going to be all right.
The first of many jokes about hair.
Oh, my, come on.
But just, I think it was that moment where I was like, I am going to be fine. He's going to give me everything that I need. And you invested in me. I don't even think I had to communicate or articulate my areas of opportunity. I think you saw what I needed, and you helped. We would sit down before meetings.
Ooh, we would.
We would prep. You would, so explain what you would say. Tell me how you would, give me a mock interview or a mock conversation. Because I was always nervous. I hate public speaking. I do.
Says the host of a podcast television show. Go on, continue.
I truly hate public speaking. I hate not having answers to questions. And I just hate the unknown.
Yeah.
So you helped me. Okay, if we could anticipate any questions, what would they be? And any other question that came up, I don't know, but I'll find out for you. And I think it was just those sessions, those meetings that we had. It was like, this man is really invested in my growth. I didn't have time to be nervous. I had no reason to be nervous or doubt myself, because I knew there was someone there who was going to help me through.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you saying that. But, I've learned as well. And now we have become in some ways, you are now, and I hope we get a chance to talk about the difference between a coach, a mentor, and a sponsor.
Yes.
But in some ways, I've had this conversation with you and another member of our original, we called ourselves the Bubble. You're now my peers. So I've done it. I called you about this, and I went, there's an opportunity, blah, blah, blah. I've called you about, so it shifts in some ways. Yeah. I think because that's where we started, it will always be sort of mentor-mentee. Yes. But you're my peer now. Like the conversations we have, I'm calling you for counsel and advice. And we're doing business together and going, we're both kind of in similar nonprofit spaces. Who do you know? How many times I send you a text? Do you have blah, blah's contact information? We have a group text.
Yes.
So part of that is, for me, someone did it for me, but I also remember all the times it wasn't done for me.
Yeah, exactly.
And there is just not enough people who look like me in these rooms.
Exactly.
So when you see talent, and I know now being on the leadership side, I'm going to go deep here. People think if they're not racist, because racist is callous, it's malice. Right. But this country, I've always said, it's the caste system. And the caste system was here from colonial days and before. It literally is like a cast of a play. You don't even realize it, but the leads are the leads, the chorus is the chorus, nobody crosses over, and it's just expected, even when you walk in, based on what you look like. Yeah. You just assume it. You don't even ask the question why it's been there for so long. Right. So a lot of times when there are fewer of us in the room, it's not malice. It is just the system that is so deeply rooted. Yes. We almost walk into the room. You and I've talked about this, respectability politics. We almost walk into the room and go, oh, I'm supposed to be in the chorus. Right. We don't even go toward the principal roles. So that's why even back then it was so important to me when I saw talented folks. And when you told me about your previous experience, we shall not name, I was like, well, we got to do better than that. Yes. And I'll say this to you. I've said this on my own show. In the Arena, Friday nights at 7 o'clock on CAN TV 19. I've said this on my own show to a guest, so I'll say it to you here. I said, I had through therapy, I'm a catastrophizer. So the fears that you have, I had fears too. They just showed up differently. Yeah. So I had to be very successful. I had to have enough equity because I'm a catastrophizer in recovery. I was always waiting for the other shoe to drop. Wow. So think back to times with us at Youth Guidance and Urban League. I wasn't mean, but you always felt, and I know you all felt it, so I want to give you an apology, but you always felt a sense of it's never enough. We've always got to be ready because the catastrophizer in me knew the other shoe had to drop.
Yeah. And I internalized that completely different. I'm like, he's anticipating what could go wrong. And that's how I looked at it. Like, okay, what could go wrong? Okay, if this happens, then we have a plan A, B, C, and D. Yeah.
And the difference is, yes, anticipate, but it can't cause such panic in you of the unknown. Yeah. So the guest I had, Bassie Igby, who was diagnosed bipolar 2, a New York Times bestselling author. We were talking. She said her therapist explained to her, because instead of me waiting for the shoe to drop, she was waiting for the shoe to be thrown, literally thrown. Wow. And we talked about it. We're barefoot, maybe socks underneath us. If an issue happens, you can anticipate, but if something happens, we'll handle it. Yeah. And if we can't handle it, we will push through our pride and ego and lean on others to do it. So as much as I appreciate what you said, but I've been able to lean on you. You and I have had some critical conversation, and that takes years of trust and working together in the trenches.
Well, I think we took the time to build that foundation of trust.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what I needed. That out of everything, I needed to be able to be vulnerable and be able to trust that I could
I'm not going to hold it against
you for those basic things that I needed. Yep. Support, guidance, mentorship. Teach me. You know?
We're so conditioned that if you don't come in, and I don't even know how this can even happen, but we're conditioned that you have to come in. We've been told twice as good, twice as hard, twice as this. There can be no imperfections, and you deal with the whole black girl magic thing. So to ask a question that shows that you may not know everything, I've experienced that, and it took more years than I wished it had, but better to have get it than not.
Yeah.
And that was a part of my issues in our days. As successful as we were, that was a fear of not knowing everything, where I'd be seen as imperfect or not the shiny bright star, or someone's going to judge me, or someone's going to undermine me, or do I really belong here? So I've got to constantly reapply for the job every day.
Yes.
We are all just, it gets us.
And to be honest, that worked for me. It did not work for other members of the team, but how hard you were, how tough, I won't say hard, but how tough you were and the way that you operated, it worked for me because it made sure I knew my area. I knew my numbers. Yeah. But it created a sense of anxiety in our other team members. So you can't mentor or manage everyone the same.
Absolutely.
And I saw when you realized that. And I appreciated that. But most importantly, I saw when I was doing it right. When we built that trust and we would be on deadline and I'm like, Darrious, my son has something. He has a football game, whatever. I need to leave early. But when that's over, I'm going to go home and finish this project, and I'll get it to you by
Off you go.
Whatever time. And you were like, okay.
Off you go.
But it didn't work for everyone.
No.
But we had built that trust.
Yeah.
So when we talk about mentoring other people, how would you advise someone to, one, identify, and two, go up and say, I need a mentor. Will you be my mentor?
Okay, I love that. Get into the world, decide what you want. Mm-hmm. Decide as you're in the world watching people and watch them pass the shiny, bright moments. Mm-hmm. Watch them when no one else is watching. Because Chicago, I love this city. It has welcomed me. But Chicago is a uniquely shiny, bright surface. Mm-hmm. Everybody's on social media. We're all out there. And if you don't pay close attention, on the surface, it looks like someone is one thing, and that's who you think you want to be your mentor.
Right.
But you need to make sure that's who they are. So I would say, one, do your research. Mm-hmm. Ask questions about that person. Hey, what do you know about people? And that's the other great thing about Chicago. In our spaces, everybody knows everybody who knows everybody else. You can just ask questions. Hey, what about Darrious? I hear he's over at blah blah blah. He's doing this, and people will, and then let them talk.
Yes.
And people will tell you. You can make a decision, but you can get a fairly full composite of someone by asking just 5, 6 people. What do they think? Who do they know? Because somebody knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. That's number one. 2, be ready, because just like you were ready and you went into the bathroom and you went, oh, mentoring isn't always fun. They're going to say things. They took me seriously when I told them I want to get to the next level. And they went, okay. So be ready. Because a lot of people, that's the other thing that people tend to do. We want the end. Liz Thompson, I'm name dropping. Hey, Liz Thompson. Liz Thompson said this to me. We were sitting having a conversation. And she said, everybody wants the money, but nobody wants the test. And it just is so true. So that's the first thing I would say to someone. Make sure you're ready. Like you took those 3 months. Mm-hmm. So you walked into youth guidance, not sure what it was going to be, but you knew you were ready for something. And that was going to demand of you that you shift and leave room for growth and mistakes. Yeah. So be ready for a mentor, because I can say this as someone who mentors, and you know this. We're busy. You're busy. Yeah. So if that person's making that commitment to you, come game. Yes. Come ready. Come with questions. Come with an idea of where you want to go. It is not the job of the mentor where you go to them and go, make me better. I want more. Well, what do you want? I don't know, more.
Yeah.
I've had people who have come to me.
That's going to be successful.
Yeah, right. That's going to work. I have, and I do it gently with humanity. But there have been folks who have come to me, and I've said, no, with all honesty, I don't have time, because it is a commitment.
It is
you and I have been in this for, 11 years,
yes.
over a decade.
Yes.
And to watch you grow is just one of the greatest, literally one of the greatest privileges for me. So be ready. 2, you invest in the nurturing of the relationship. Mm-hmm. So you go up to that person. If you're really ready, walk up to that person and go, hi, I know you're busy right now, networking event. I would love to get 5 minutes with you, just like to kind of, you're doing some of the things I want to do. You're at a place that I'm working to get to. I would really love just 5 minutes. And that 5 minutes is really for you to truly interview them as well.
Yes.
Don't just let anybody be your mentor.
Right, right.
We get shiny, bright stuff and we go, yes, no. So in that 5 minutes, I'll talk to someone and I'll go, oh, I see where you're going. And they'll share with me, here's where I am, here's what I'm working on. I go, oh, okay, I've had some of those similar experiences.
Right.
I can be of value to you. It's not just saying I have a mentor, but that has to be a valuable relationship and sort of a partnership. Yeah. So that's what I would say to folks. 1, be ready. Know that you're ready. Know that if you are asking for someone who is in the place where you want to get to, they're busy. Mm-hmm. So come ready. And then you say, how do you ask? If you don't have the courage to find a way to ask, you're not ready for a mentor. So I go back to get ready to have a mentor. Exactly. If you wanted it. You walked in, crazy hair, beads of sweat, but you walked into that room and you said, I asked you a question, that sounds like an opening. What do you want in 5 years? And you said your job. And what did you have in 5 years?
Your job.
Boom.
I did. In 5 years.
5 years. So listen, this mentor-mentee relationship, we were fire. In 5 years, you succeeded me in a role.
Yes.
At the vice president level.
Yes.
So let's.
And that's a completely different story.
Yeah. But one part of it does not negate the other part.
Exactly.
They're all together. And I remember you and I, we would talk when I left town and you were in the role that you succeeded me in. We talked once a week. I think it was Thursday nights. And sometimes I would be in the office at the LGBT Center in Michigan, where I was executive director, and you'd be in your office formerly my office, now your office at Urban League, and we would talk. And we have had, people will never know this, but you and I have had some honest, because you've got to trust your mentor. And I would say to you, look, I think this is a no-win, or I think you should try this. But a lot of times what I would say to you over that year was, you know all this, but you are slipping back into not trusting yourself. You and I are spinning images, and the information you were sharing with them, I'm like, that's right.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
I think the difference was, while I still had my mentor, and this is a perfect segue, while I still had my mentor, I no longer had a coach.
Oh, come on. Oh.
I didn't have someone to help me.
Yes.
In the moment.
You're about to go to church on me.
Work.
Yes. Yes. Which is why you want both a mentor, which is your long term, but the coach is in that moment going, all right, you're about to go into the board meeting because I know how to deal with boards.
Exactly.
Good. Go on.
Yeah.
I love that.
So I didn't have anyone who was helping me. Now I'm at a completely different level.
Yeah, you jumped.
And we all, once you hit the C-suite, those C-suite people, they have coaches. And I didn't have that. And actually, I'm sorry, let me take that back.
Okay.
I ended up getting one. But I didn't have that comfort level because my then boss
gave you the coach.
Was friends with the coach.
That is a recipe. Let me just mark this moment. Recipe set for disaster.
Exactly.
You won't feel safe.
I didn't feel safe. There was no trust. In fact, there was one very simple mistake that I guess opened the door for that failure.
A new failure, yeah.
And I just wanted to say, coaching is needed.
Absolutely. Get you a team, get you a bench.
Yes.
Like I have, you know this, you're now on it. Get you a coach. I'm using it now. I've been at Can TV 7 months. I've called my coaches because this is a new experience. I've called coaches who are literally, what does it mean to work to run a television station or stations? I've called coaches going, okay, what does it mean to work with a different type of board than I'm used to? We're used to monster boards where it's, what is it like to work with a different, more community-based board?
Right. Yeah.
What is it like to deal with so they're coaches who I can call on that fly and go, I'm about to do this. Give me some counsel. What would you do? What have you done?
Yes.
And then there's the mentor who is the consistent kind of global coach. But I've said this to you for years. Get you a personal board. I tell people, this needs a village.
Amen.
You know what I'm saying?
Amen.
So, and we've talked about this. My therapist is on Thursday nights. And I have literally I've done it. Gotten into my car, drove out of the Can TV parking lot, across the street into the Jewel Osco, over to the Bank of America where it's nice and quiet, did a therapy session, drove back here and had a meeting. If you, so get you a team. So it is a coach, a mentor, therapist. Right now, I would say this to people I'm mentoring. Your mental health, don't wait for it to tell you. Just assume right now, 2+ pandemics in, stresses, changes, a mask that is still sitting right next to us. Be preventative. Think of yourself as, just like we do these beautiful strategic plans, think of you as that system that needs to be maintained and protected. So I would say mentor, coaches, therapist, but also sponsors.
Yes. I've been benefiting from trickle-down therapy, so.
Come on. Okay. and you're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Trickle-down therapy. Is that a new term? I love that.
It's an existing term.
Okay.
But, I can take credit for making it up.
Okay. That's something.
But I want to continue this conversation, but we've run out of time.
No.
So join us next time as we talk more about the differences between coaches, mentors, and sponsors, and how do we build our personal board. Until then, this is DIY DEI. Have a good one.